So, as Rafaela told you, I will start on giving a short introduction on multilingualism in child language development. It will be very brief, and after me, Miriam will continue with more in-depth information on multilingual speech assessment. And I will start on by defining multilingualism, which is actually already a very difficult question, and which is, oops. Or Miriam, did you want to start? I see some slides.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was a bit confusing. Shall I do these first slides? Can I still control the slides as well?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So we were introduced, but I want to introduce Royal Dutch Cantalis as well. We're a national organization for assessment, care and education for children and adults with communication difficulties. Today's talk is about the introduction of Lisa Verbeek, first about bilingualism in general in child language acquisition, and more focused to speech language therapy, what it means in speech language therapy. And then we will move on to the purpose and scope of multilingual assessment. And we can talk about this for a week and still not be finished. So we focus on one particular subject, which is speech assessment in a language that you don't speak yourself. And Speekabo is a means of doing that, and we want to introduce Speekabo to you. And now I give the word to Lisa to talk about multilingualism.
Yes, thank you. So as I introduced before, I would like to define what we mean by multilingualism first, and that's a really difficult question. My slides are a bit fuzzy, but I think what I wanted to say is that, well, of course, there are monolingual children who learn just one language from birth on, a first language, and we call them monolinguals. But then bilinguals are often put into well-defined boxes, either sequential bilingual children who learn a first language from birth on, and then soon after acquire a second language, for example, at school. And then on the other side, we have simultaneous bilinguals who learn two first languages from birth on. And as this sounds very convenient, and it actually is sometimes very convenient to talk about bilinguals in this way, it doesn't work that way in reality. All multilingual children have in common, or at least that's our scope for now, that they have been exposed to two or more languages from a young age on. But beyond that, the ways in which children get exposed to two or more languages varies enormously, as you all are quite familiar to, I suppose. Sequential and simultaneous bilingualism can be seen as a convenient way of speaking on whether languages are present in a sense from birth on or succeed each other in time. But within these categories, there's really a lot of variety. And I hope my slide will continue. Miriam, can you press it? I think it doesn't work that well if I do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. So there are various sources of variability within the group of multilingual children. So just like for other monolingual children, it's really important to look at the child as an individual first, to look at the overall development, developmental milestones, language aptitude, learning, etc. And for multilingual children, also migration, attitude, and for example, the child's attitude or to its own languages is important. For example, is there preference for a language? Does the child want to learn all languages if she or he can reflect on that, etc. And then, Miriam, can you press the next slide for me? So also important to look at how many languages. So it is very different if a child learns 2 languages or 3 or 4 or 5. And this can impact proficiency in each language. And also the specific languages to be acquired can be a source of variability, as language characteristics can affect specific language acquisition processes in terms of cross-language transfer. And can you press the next slide, Miriam? And the next one? Yeah, so there are also factors outside of the child. For example, the attitude to the languages by the parents, the school, the society. Also the type of language input. So do parents speak English to each other, but another language to the child? Then you have the difference between direct and indirect input. And the next one is what is the quantity of the language input? When did it start? For what duration, etc. And finally, the quality of the language input. So are parents native speakers, and do they speak their own native language to the child or not? And all these input factors, together with the child characteristics, can influence how proficient the child is in each language. And also this can change throughout time. But for some children, and now I'm at the next slide, despite sufficient exposure and input, I'll just continue. I thought there was a question, but despite
we hear nothing.
Maybe Lisa needs to be unmuted, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I think I was muted. So from when on did you not hear me?
From this slide. From
the starting of this slide. Yeah.
Thank you. So sometimes children do not acquire language as they should do, expected based on their language input, and this can be explained by developmental language disorders if and only if there was sufficient language input and there are not only no other factors as hearing problems or so. And there are several signals that do indicate developmental language disorders, as shown by this picture. It's very small, but it shows, for example, the common signals of children have common trouble finding the right words, or it can be difficult to understand what the child says. Now, some of these signals can also be seen by multilinguals, especially if they learn a second language from later on. And this can be difficult in determining are language problems caused by second language development, or is there more serious problems? But DLD is definitely not caused by multilingualism, and it's really different. If children have DLD, DLD will be present in all the languages, and there are some universal symptoms, such as I just mentioned and illustrated by the poster, but the characteristics of DLD can be language specific too, such as children might have be difficult to understand, but the exact mistakes they make in each language can be different. And therefore, the central question in assessing multilingual children should be, in light, what can be expected from a child in each language in light of his or her linguistic environment? And therefore, it's really important to, as you're probably all familiar with, to obtain a very careful case history for multilingual children, it's important to get a sense of all the factors that I just mentioned. So the type of input, the quality and the quantity of input, the child's attitude to the languages, etc. Not only from now, but from birth on, actually. And it's important to look at society and family's wishes for the child's language proficiency for each language to get a sense of what is needed in that specific case. And also consider cross-language transfer because of the directional influence between all the languages. Now, there are various instruments that can help obtaining a view of what the profile is. I think the slides will be made public available afterwards, I'm not sure, but then you can look at those websites. Most of them are freely available. And would you have time, there's also a very interesting paper by McLeod et al. I think it's listed below this instruments, Miriam. Yes, and it gives very useful tips for speech assessment in multilingual children. And Miriam will now continue highlighting one of these assessment tools.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Only multilingual assessment can be a reliable assessment in multilingual children because all their languages matter in language development. And monolingual assessment may lead to under or over diagnosis. And in the Netherlands, we did some research into that, and actually in some age groups, we have more children, multilingual children than expected, and in other age groups, we have less. So that is an indication that under and over the diagnosis happens. How do we do it? Also, that could be a 5-day course to explain. But the basics are that each language is looked at as far as possible, and all aspects of language. So not just speech production. Today we will mainly talk about speech production, but also language understanding and language production, such as sentence making, being able to produce narratives, etc. But now we focus on speech production. Speech production is important because it's also the basis of the rest of the language. And not the only basis, but a very important basis to build words, and from words, sentences. But imagine that you would have a child that speaks a language that you don't speak. So what if you want to know more about this child's speech, but you don't speak the language, then you do have a problem. Which problems are there to solve? Oh, sorry, too fast. Well, it says here, articulation screeners in non-English languages either do not exist or are difficult for clinicians to access. Of course, we just saw everybody come in from different languages, from different countries, and everybody speaks different languages. And probably you all have speech screeners in your country that you use. But when you are in another country, then you can't easily access, for example, the Latvian or the Turkish or the Polish screeners. Also, assessing a preschooler is challenging because they are naturally shy, don't want to talk, and have restricted language output, especially when they're not able to speak very well. And also when they have to go to an office with their parents and for a lady or for someone that is going to test them, that's not a really nice moment for a child to open up and speak. Also, you don't speak the language yourself, and what is not stated here, you don't know a lot about the language. You don't know what structure it has, what kind of sounds there are. So Speekabo helps with unique features. First, it's a game, or to say a naming task in disguise. So for the child, it thinks it's playing a game, while in reality for the speech therapist, a naming task is done. The recording of the child's production is in the app. So you can, per item, you can listen back what the child says and how he said it. And then you can think, well, it's all very nice that I can hear the child, but I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced. But within the app, you have the possibility to compare the child's production with an adult model. And this way, you get an impression of speech production within 15 minutes. There's a unique combination of words for each language. So we did not start with one list and then translate everything. No, in each language, we first looked at the phonological system, and also we looked at cultural appropriateness of the different words and pictures. And we were looking for all the consonants to be in the test, or almost all the consonants, and also clusters if applicable in a certain language. And Speekabo is not just one thing, it's an app. And we have website materials, and we will illustrate and show all of them in this presentation. Well, you can download the app on Apple and Android, on tablet and phone. Only on phone, there are less languages. Now I would like to show a small video that's also on YouTube, where you can see what it looks like and what the features are and how they work. Lisa, were you going to share this, or what were we going to do?
I can share it, yes, but I have to.
Or shall I try if it works, just by clicking?
Please. Yeah.
After you've downloaded the Speekabo app, this icon will appear on your desktop.
Okay?
Tap on it to enter the main menu of the app.
Yes,
When you
it's
tap
okay.
the first bar, a
Okay,
keyboard
thanks.
appears with which you can enter the name of the client. Finish with Return. You can select a language by tapping the second bar. Now you see an overview of all languages currently in Speekabo. Tap the desired language and then on OK. Use the third bar to select a game. To do this, tap the cogwheel on the right-hand side of the bar. The app has two games, Doors and Lotto. The Doors game is suitable for young children. Slightly older children often find the Lotto more fun. The starting position shows which item the test starts with. You can adjust this. To do this, tap the number. If you enter 10 here, the test starts with item 10. This can be useful if you want to test an older child and skip the easiest items at the beginning of the test.
We can't see the
Return
video.
takes you back to the submenu. Tap the cross to return to the main menu. Everything is now filled in to start the test.
Yeah.
Do this, click Start. You will then see the start screen of the doors game. This screen to explain to the child what will happen. When you hear a sound, tap on the door.
Okay, I don't.
When the child taps on the door, the sound recording
I'm
starts.
trying to stop it.
If you tap on one of the upper corners, the recording stops and the next item appears. For items that are correct,
So sorry.
We can't see anything.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know.
I have it present right now. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah. Okay, so I have to stop sharing. Now there's no sound.
app. This icon will appear on your desktop. Tap on it to enter the main menu of the app. When you tap the first bar, a keyboard appears with which you can enter the name of the client. Finish with Return. You can select a language by tapping the second bar. Now you see an overview of all languages currently in Speekabo. Tap the desired language and then on OK. Use the third bar to select a game. To do this, tap the cogwheel on the right-hand side of the bar. The app has two games, Doors and Lotto. The Doors game is suitable for young children. Slightly older children often find the Lotto more fun. The starting position shows which item the test starts with. You can adjust this. To do this, tap the number. If you enter 10 here, the test starts with item 10. This can be useful if you want to test an older child and skip the easiest items at the beginning of the test. Return takes you back to the submenu. Tap the cross to return to the main menu. Everything is now filled in to start the test. To do this, click Start. You will then see the start screen of the Doors game. Use this screen to explain to the child what will happen. When you hear a sound, tap on the door. When the child taps on the door, the sound recording starts. If you tap on one of the upper corners, the recording stops and the next item appears. For items that are correct, tap in the upper left corner. For items that are incorrect, in the upper right corner. You can also score all items correct or incorrect and adjust the score later. Is the door game too easy? Then press in the lower right corner for 3 seconds. You will then see the start screen of the Lotto game. First explain the game. Look, here you see a picture. Can you find the same? Then you can drag the picture to it. After the instruction, you can tap on Start to continue with the next item.
Benim böyle kuşum yok, mavi kuşum var benim. Bir ağaç.
Evet, ağaç var burada.
If you want to abort the test, press in the lower left corner for 3 seconds. You will then return to the main menu. In the Recordings section, you can see how many recordings you have made. You can save recordings of 20 children in Speekabo. In this example, you can see that only one recording has been made. You can also see if there is enough recording time available and if the microphone of your tablet is on. If you tap on Review, you can see an overview of all the recordings. Behind the name, you can see in which language the child was tested. If you tap on the trash can, you remove the child's recording. If you tap the curved arrow, you can continue with the test. Tap the child's name to view the results of the test. You can see an overview of all items and whether they are correct, incorrect, or empty. Empty means that this item has not been tested yet. If you want to listen to an item, you can tap it. You do not have to listen to all the items. You could, for example, just listen to all the items that scored incorrect. Tap the item you want to listen to. You then hear the child and can compare its production with the transcription. If you doubt the child's pronunciation, tap on Interpreter
Limon.
to hear the adult pronunciation. Tap on Child if you want to hear the child's pronunciation again. You can use the correct and incorrect buttons to adjust the score. Use the score sheet from the website to record the results on paper.
Okay. Okay. So, well, that's basically how it works. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing this. Of course, you can look again if you want to if you did not register everything, you can look again at the video. Now, the video was made some time ago, so we have one more game now. We have more languages, for example, Swahili and Frisian, and also we have smartphone versions now. Right here you see the development of the Swahili. We last year, in the beginning of last year, before all the COVID-19 troubles started, we went to Nairobi to work together with colleagues from Kenya and Tanzania to develop the Swahili version. Maybe for the moment, after the questions, I want to show how it works in clinical practice. So please, no questions about that for the moment, because I'm going to show it. But are there any urgent questions about what's shown until now?
No, Miriam. No, Miriam. There aren't questions about
Okay.
Until now.
Okay, great. Now, Speekabo in clinical practice. There's a small video. On the left, we see an SLT, a speech language therapist. On the right, we see a Turkish interpreter. And the interpreter is going to do the test with the girl. Now let's see if do I need to do anything to get the sound and the image is all right, because you can see it already, I think.
You'll have to share your sound again.
Share sound, let me see. Hoe we dat ook weer doen. Even kijken, share sound, yeah. Okay. Now let's just watch it. Okay.
Miriam, I think you have to
Wat is er?
je geluid wat harder zetten.
Sorry? Harder?
I think so. We don't hear anything.
No, there isn't a sound. There isn't any sound.
Okay, again. Share sound. Okay. Well, I will not I will start from this point because the first part was just an introductory talk, but you have to note that the Turkish interpreter started to talk in Turkish with the.
Bir kapı açılacak.
Does it work now?
Kapıyı açıvereceğiz.
Yes, yes.
Odanda çiçekler bile çıkacak.
Orada bir resim çıkacak.
Evet.
Sen de anlatacaksın resimde ne gördüğünü, tamam mı?
Tamam.
Peki. Başlayalım mı?
Başlayalım. Top çıktı.
Aa evet. Aferin sana.
Bal.
Oo. Onu ben çok seviyorum.
Zeytin.
Evet, zeytin. İkimiz de bilemedik.
We gaan ook nog even een ander spelletje doen.
Ja.
We gaan even
Başka
over op
oyun
de,
oynayacağız. Bir bekle.
even over op de lotto.
Ne?
Bak aynısı nerede?
Aynısı burada.
Evet, aferin. Devam
Nasıl?
edelim.
İşte tavuk.
Ze zegt dat het een kip is.
Oh, oké. Misschien kun jij het voorzeggen. Kijken of ze het kan
Ja.
nazeggen.
Bak bu bir et.
Het et mi?
Okay. So, what is important in test taking? First, the child needs to be addressed in the native language and needs to be at ease. Well, this child was very free and happy, and that's why she was filmed, but other children need.
Știu că am mai aruncat restul, dar nu știu dacă de la materialul, de la
I'm hearing someone talk, I don't know. Anyway, the game helps to elicit the words, as you can see, and you can use the score form for the target items. Cooperation between this SLT and the translator, or maybe the parent, also it could also be a parent. Is important. I don't know. I'm hearing all kinds of voices, but I can't understand what you're saying.
No, Miriam, it's just someone with the microphone open. It isn't a question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, you have to watch, of course, a language variation. And if you wonder, you can ask the interpreter for explanation. Here we have the example of Joseph. He's from Tanzania and he speaks Swahili. And here we have his filled in form. And we're going to look at his form. At first glance, it looks like quite a few mistakes, but you see that in this, you can see that he repeated a few words. That's where it says "are," and he made some mistakes. And most of the mistakes are that the S-like sound becomes a sh, which is a backing. As a phonological process, it's backing. And if we look at the end result of the PCC, the percentage consonants correct, he has a percentage of 91.1 correct. So is that good enough or not? We are wondering. Is he typically developing or is it pathology? Well, right here in table 7, we see the average scores of typically developing Tanzanian toddlers. And then we see that the percentage of consonants correct in 53 months old average children is 95.1. And all this kind of information can be found on the Speekabo website. If we look at Joseph's result, then he's a little bit younger and he scores a little bit lower. Also, we can look at what kind of mistakes does he make. And right here we see that common phonological processes in typically developing Tanzanian children in Swahili are a lateralization, backing, assimilation, and vowel addition. So for, I don't know about other languages, but in Dutch, backing is not a typical process. It's an atypical or pathological process, but in Tanzanian children, it is more common. So if we look again to the backing of the amount of backing that Joseph does, then it doesn't seem so bad. So do we need to worry about the phonological development of Joseph? Well, normally I would put it to the group, but here online that's a little bit difficult. But I think we can all see that he's not doing so bad. Also, we have to think a little bit about Swahili is for many children in Tanzania only one of the languages, so they also grow up multilingually, and sometimes you can look at different mistakes or phonological processes, comparing the two languages and thinking that maybe because he has a certain first language, then a certain problem in the second language might occur. In the Netherlands, for example, we have many Turkish children, and they have more problems with clusters of consonants than Dutch children. They need to learn that and are a little bit later with that. Because in Turkish there are no clusters in the language. So the manual and the score form and the videos are all to be found on the website. So there's also a manual with instructions. So in summary, Speekabo is an app for tablet or phone, but not just that. It's also a score with a score. It comes with a score form, and it comes with language specific information for each language that we have. So now what are you going to do, or at least what do I hope you are going to do? You're going to download the app, and I hope that you will practice with either your little brother, niece, or the kid next door, or your own child, to get a feel of how you can use it. And maybe you just use it first in your own language, even if the language is not there, but choose one of the varieties, one of the languages, and try the game with the child, and use the website materials to note down and to get a grip on the information that you need for the language. So the take-home message really is, yes, you can, because we know that people are a little bit hesitant to test children in other languages than their own, and that's understandable because it's not very easy. But we think that with Speekabo it can be done. Please share your experiences. It says here with us, but to my opinion, not just with us, but also with others, because we think we have a very valuable instrument and we want as many people to use it as possible. So that was my information, and now I'm going to try and stop sharing. Not a new share, stop sharing.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you very much. Our colleague Emilia is going to collect questions by the participants. Emilia, please.
Yes, hello. So we have a few questions. First of all, from Elizabeth Jarmer. How does it work with languages with different symbols which I can't read?
Yes, well, we do not use the scripts of the different languages. We use International Phonetic Alphabet on the form, and we use English to show the which word it is. Well, many languages have our own script, but like for Arabic, we do not use the Arabic writing. We use a normal writing. I don't know, normal script to make it accessible for language therapists.
Okay.
I see a question that I really want to answer, because someone says I downloaded it, but I can't find Turkish. That is because the phone version has got only these languages, but the tablet version has more. Also, I think there is an Android phone version that has got all the languages, but I'm not sure. But the tablet version has more languages.
Okay. And also here was a question about the video you showed. Just to make sure, the Turkish speaking adult in the video is the interpreter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And next question. So if I understood correctly, the Speekabo app is used by SLPs assessing a child that speaks another language that the SLP doesn't speak or understand.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Correct. Yes. And another question, are you assessing a bilingual or monolingual child with this app? Probably.
It can be both. I think when the child only speaks, is not yet introduced to Dutch, but does speak the other language, then it would be a monolingual child. But in the Netherlands, we hardly have children that are not at all exposed to Dutch. But it is possible to diagnose a monolingual child as well, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. And also here was another question about can the child be monolingual? And I guess you asked that, or you answered that question already.
Yes.
Or do you want? Yes. Or you want some more comments on that?
I don't really understand why this question is asked.
Maybe someone will add some comments to that question. We'll wait and see. What do you do if the interpreter refuses to translate words that are not spoken in the room?
I'm not sure I understand this question.
No, this was a tricky one. It's from Solveig von Malmborg. Maybe we can ask her to comment some more or to define that question. We'll go on to the next one. In Suriname, we have 20 languages and even more dialects.
Yeah.
The languages and dialects are not to be found in Speekabo. Is there a way to get those languages into Speekabo? So will there be more?
Yeah. I see also someone asking about Spanish.
Yeah.
And also tonal. Are we going to be able to understand the development of tonal languages? At some point we have added languages and kept doing so. At the moment we stopped because it's an endless effort. It's not that we don't like doing it, but it costs money all the time, and we have run out of money, to be honest. We like to work together with people from all kinds of places, but we do need money for each language that is added. So, well, yeah, I think it could be a challenge of, I know ESLA does not have a pile of money somewhere, but working together, we could find subsidies to do so, because we can all help each other, but still, it's work and it needs to be done. About the tonal language, we have started with Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, and we do have a word list and pictures there, but we have not been able to test it yet. So we need to test it with children, and we need to find out how the tonal languages can be listened to also by speech therapists. So we have to look into that.
Yes. Then there is one question about the interpreters we hire have in their agreement that they only translate or to interpret spoken language, so they will not translate written language. They will only interpret what is said in the room. But in Speekabo, they have to take a more active part, right?
Yeah. Yeah, now I understand the question. Yes. Well, in the Netherlands, we have I know this idea of interpreters and it's also their work ethics and the rules they have to attach to. But we have found that they are willing to take a more active part when you really talk about this and convince them. So it's a matter of getting them to do that. In the Netherlands, they are willing to do so, most of them. But we also find that working with parents, if you look at the Speekabo test, working with parents can be very it's a good, very feasible, can be done easily.
Yes, thank you. Then also here's from one listener. My 8-year-old daughter diagnosed with autism. She understands English and Marathi, mother tongue, can hardly speak 50 words and make echo sound of others. can we introduce third language, Norwegian, to her at this stage? What is your comment on that, to add a third language?
I'm hesitant to answer such a question because it is my opinion that to advise parents about such matters, you need to know a lot more than just two sentences to advise. So it's only when you talk to each other, and I would ask a lot of questions to find out what would be a good way to move ahead with this case. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then there is one question. If I understand well, this app is used to have an image of a child's level. It is not really to put a diagnosis. Is that correct? To more like get a picture of the child's level, not to put the diagnosis.
No, yes, that's correct. You get an impression of the level. It's not that you could just pinpoint down the diagnosis. It's a qualitative thing with a quantitative input as much as possible, but no real diagnosis.
Yeah. And then are there any plans to create a similar app to assess the development of expressive language?
Expressive language, then you would mean like vocabulary?
Understanding.
Oh, understanding, language understanding. Well, we are thinking about it, but we also think that it's much more hard because, well, language understanding, if that's also, do you talk about sentences or passive vocabulary?
Yeah.
If it's passive vocabulary, then it's an endless amount of statistics that you would need to get valuable information. We think that it's harder to do, but we are thinking about it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Time will tell, I think, if that will be.
Yeah. Oh, now I see someone means a sentence structure. Yes. Well, we have not been planned. I have been thinking about it. I'm thinking about a lot of things all the time, but sentences, no, we have not been planning that. No.
Yeah.
Also, much more difficult to get that right.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Then there's one from Aneta. So we assess the child in both languages, but in each we do refer norms for children which live in mother tongue country. Do I understood correctly?
The norms in mother tongue, that's what you, okay, go on.
Did you understand the question, or should
I? I would like to read. I'm trying to look it up because it's easier when you read it.
It's from Aneta Miekis, sent to you 6:58.
Can you hear me?
6:58. Let me see. 6:58.
Что такое relay?
Well, in refer norms for children with no. Well, it depends. It depends. In each group is, for example, the Turkish children we tested and the Polish children, they were living in the Netherlands. So in the information that's on the Speekabo website, we are explicitly saying what the group that we tested is. So, but most of them are not monolingual. But for example, the German, that was done in Germany with, I think, monolingual German children. So it depends on it depends on who did the testing of the children. The German was tested in German by German students. So it depends. But ideally, you would compare the child to another child in the same situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there's here one question from Sabrina. Do you rely on the interpreter's assessment if the words or sound pronounced correctly if the sound is not part of the SLT's language? Or do you rely only on the model that is given by the app? So do you rely on what the interpreter says in this assessment, or do you rely on the app? Which do you think is more reliable?
It depends. Sometimes you can also rely on the parent, because if the example in the app, if that's a dialect that is not spoken by the parents, and the parents say, oh yes, I can hear this example and I know other people speak like that, but we at home, we say this word like that. So it's always a matter of trying to find out which model the child had, and the interpreter in the app is only a help for you to get a grip on the speech sounds, and it's not that the child should always reflect this model. Is that an answer? I think it is.
Yeah. And then, let's see. For a child,
to say,
yes, sorry.
Emilia, a moment.
Yeah.
I have to say that we will take the questions that already arrived, but no more, because we have to close at a time. And so please, it's okay with the questions. Don't put any questions more. But if you want to get contact with Dr. Blumenthal, you have the address, the email address, and you could contact her and interact with her. Thank you.
Yes, so we still have one question here. One question left that I will read for you. For a child IQ 106 with speech delay, which follows speech therapy 30 minutes twice a week, Romanian mother language and Dutch at school. He lives in Belgium. What do you recommend? The child is addicted to apps, YouTube and Disney. He can speak English from cartoons too, so probably he has learned the English from YouTube and Disney. After 2 years therapy, there is no evolution. Even I speak with him Romanian, nor the teacher talk to him in Dutch, the child answers in English. The therapist advised us to stop speaking Romanian. Thanks. Yeah, so I think she wonders here why the Romanian and the Dutch doesn't develop as good as the English. even though the English is only from YouTube and TV.
Yes. Yeah. So also that's always the difficulty with cases. I would have to ask many questions, but I understand that the child is in a Dutch speaking community and at school.
Yeah, a Dutch is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So well, I would never advise to stop speaking the language. That is never a good idea. The puzzle is a little, why does he speak English that he gets cartoons and no Dutch and no Romanian? That is a very intriguing case, but it's not very rare, because I've heard of cases like that before.
It's very normal.
Sorry?
I think so too, that it's very common.
But still it's difficult to understand, and you wonder about the language environment, but also maybe about the child. Why does he not speak one of the languages that he needs for communication, and only a language that he knows from screens? That's hard to understand, but I would never advise to stop the parents' language. That would never help the Dutch, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you. So that was the last one. I will still once again remind you all to fill this form. You will find the link in the chat. Thank you. And now I think that Rafaela will take over.
Yes, Emilia, thank you. So the link to the form posted in the chat is now working, and you can fill it if you want the attendance certificate. Please remember also our Congress that will be in Austria in May 2022. You saw again the link to the Congress website is again in the chat. So thank you, Miriam and Lisa. Thank you very much for this interesting webinar, and for this theme that has to be worked again and again by SLTs. Thank you to all the participants. The recording of the webinar will be available for 48 hours for ESLA members, and you will receive the link to the YouTube channel. Thank you again. Good evening to everyone.
Mm-hmm.